K-R-R-E-L. Today is Thursday, September 13th. We're in the hospital with Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Marilyn Wills, W-I-L-L-S, and her husband is
K-I-R-K.
K-I-R-K Wills. Okay, we're interviewing her about the terrorist attack on the Pentagon on 11 September 2001. Okay, Colonel Wills, could you start off by telling me a little bit about what is your office in the Pentagon and where you assigned?
My office is 2E477, and I'm assigned to the desk per.
And what do you do in the desk per?
I'm the congressional officer.
Okay. And you were on the E ring, so that was fairly close to the impact area?
Yes, very close.
Okay.
That morning, every other Tuesday morning, we have a staff meeting. And we were in the staff meeting, I forget the room number, but it is on the E ring. And we were sitting around the table, and just everything collapsed and exploded on us.
Mm-hmm.
And people were screaming and yelling and told me to get on the floor. And we were crawling around the room for, I don't know, seems like hours. And I saw a little light, like a window. And I knew if I just get to the window, it would be okay. So we just made a chain on the floor. Everybody's holding each other's belts. It was like 6 of us. And we got over to the window. And gentleman threw a fax machine or a printer or something at the window. It bounced back in on us. They tried to throw it again. The window opened a little bit. And then we just started throwing people out the window. There were some guys below to catch them. And the one lady would not jump. She just wouldn't jump. So I pushed her out the window. Oh, God. Then me and the colonel both got out the window, got down below where all of the people were, and they took us, I think, to the courtyard, to the middle of the Pentagon, I think. And then I came here, and I can remember telling him to call my husband. So I wrote my phone number on the doctor's shirt, and he called my husband.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, before that happened, had you guys heard about the attack upon the World Trade Center?
No.
There was nothing, you had no...
No, because our meeting started at 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just glanced at my watch because I was thinking our meeting was going a bit long. So when I looked at my watch, it was like 9:36.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was my turn to speak. And just as I started to speak, everything went closed in on us, and it got dark and smoke and fire. And so I figure about 9:37, 9:38, somewhere like that it happened.
Okay. Now, they took you to the courtyard. Were there any doctors around in the courtyard?
I want to say yes, but I was pretty out of it, so I don't know.
Okay.
I want to say it was. Because I do remember being in a little cart,
Mm-hmm.
driving me somewhere in a little cart. Yeah.
Okay. Where were you hurt? Did you know? Or?
Well, both of my arms were muscle spasms in my arm, and then I had a charred throat,
Mm-hmm.
and I had burnt eyes, and my hair was scorched.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you remember getting into the ambulance, coming to this hospital? Was this the first hospital they took? Well, do you remember getting into the ambulance?
Well, I didn't get in the ambulance initially. I was in a van. I can remember being in a van,
Mm-hmm.
and the van was trying to get to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I we could not get by. And an ambulance stopped by and they helped, and then I think that's how they got me here.
Okay. The traffic was bad?
Right.
Okay.
And people wouldn't get by. People wouldn't let us get by.
Yeah, well, it's so mobbed. Okay. And you came to this hospital?
Yes.
And what happened when you got into the hospital?
I tried to tell him to call my husband, and I wrote on the doctor's shirt my phone number. And then I don't know.
Okay. When do you remember coming out? Came out in ICU is when they found you? Or when the next thing you remember was?
I was in here.
Okay. When did you first see your husband?
I think this morning. It's today.
Today is Thursday.
Last night.
Okay. Is he military?
He's retired.
Okay. And do you know how he found out about you or what happened?
All I know is I wrote my phone number on the doctor's shirt and told him, please call my husband.
Okay. Okay. Looks like some other, let me turn it off for a second. Okay, tape recorder's back on. We were just interrupted with a visit from a congressman. I want to talk to Mr. Kirk Wills now. When did you first hear about this disaster, and what was the reaction upon hearing it on the news reports?
Well, initially I heard about it. I knew about the towers, being hit by the aircraft, so I knew about that. And then someone told me in the office that I worked in in Anacostia as a government contractor, and someone told me that came into a class I was attending, said that the Pentagon had been hit. I tried to call my wife earlier. She did not answer, and then I thought about it. She had told me that she was going to be in a meeting that morning, so I knew she was in a meeting. And then I continued to try to call, never could get through. So finally they released us from the Navy base, and I decided to go on home. And I picked up my youngest daughter from school. And after I picked her up, I checked my voice messages on my cell phone, and I found a message from the hospital here telling me that my wife had been admitted to the hospital.
Okay. Did the Army ever contact you to give you any official notification?
No, because once I got notified here, I came here, and then I talked to some Army personnel after I arrived.
Okay.
Right.
What was the reaction? Had you suspected your wife would have been hurt? Or?
I didn't really know because my wife has changed from where she was normally located in the Pentagon, so I was not really sure. I was just praying and hoping that that was not the case. Right.
After you found out about it, did the Army have any support centers that you were aware of, or anything to help?
Well, they told me that they had people here that were here to support us, and we've had people come by, every day, probably 2 or 3 times a day, to check on and see how she's doing. Okay. And ask me if I need any assistance with anything.
Have you had any need for any assistance with anything?
No, not at this point. No. The only inquiries my wife has had about people that she worked with, asking about them.
How many or how the people she worked with?
I don't. Some of them we know that the people that she came out of the office with, that actually came out the same window, she knows what their status is. But some of the people that were in the meeting with her, she has no idea what the status is.
Okay, great thing. The Congress, how many VIPs have you been having coming through here?
Today is the first day, really, that we have VIPs, but it's been yesterday we had a couple.
Secretary White.
Yeah, Secretary White came by, Sergeant Major Tilly came by, and today we've had quite a few people come by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I think your phone may be ringing. Oh, it's back there.
Yeah.
Do you think you could pick up her, sorry.
Okay.
Hello? Yeah, hold on one second. There you go.
Okay, tape recorder's back on, Colonel Wills. We finished talking to your husband. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about treatment or what came over here or your experiences?
It's been the doctors, the nurses, everybody. It's just been great. It gives you a reason to live. Of course your family does, but with people like the doctors, it's great. just having everybody around and the support.
You have any children?
I have 2 daughters, one 13 and one 7.
Okay. How have they been taking the news?
Well, they're scared because their friends know their mom worked in the Pentagon. They try to be strong, but they're scared,
Yeah.
and they haven't seen me or their dad. So I just want to see them.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.